Hi, Scott Weaver, Factory Direct Window Treatments. Today we're going to talk about making a chevron. I'm going to explain to you exactly how to make it. Now a chevron is a filler piece. You see you've got two swags, and what you do is you put the chevron either over or underneath the swag, and what it does is it covers up this V that you have here so you don't see your window and whatever. You can also use a third swag to put a third swag on here to fill the gap. But in instances where you have a bay window and you have mitered corners, you need something that's going to go around the corner. Chevron works perfectly for that. Or you just want to change it up with a different type of a style and you're going to put 2 or 3 swags and you can put these chevrons in between. Now, a chevron, the length of the chevron should be approximately the length of your swag in depth. So if you got an 18-inch wide swag, you want to make your chevron about the same. You don't have to. You can make it shorter if you want. It's just as my rule of thumb. That's how I like to make mine. Anyhow, without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and make this. Now the formula, of course there's always a formula for everything. And the formula for the width of a chevron is if you want it to be 10 inches wide, you're going to multiply that by 3. 10 times 3 is 30. And then you need sewing allowance is 1 inch, half inch on each side. So that would be 31 inches that you'd be cutting your material in width. If you're 18 inches long, then you're going to cut an extra inch for sewing, so it's 19. Now if you wanted your chevron to be 12 inches wide, the formula is 12 times 3. That's what you call your fullness, by the way. Would be 36 inches plus an inch sewing allowance would be 37. Or maybe you wanted it 8 inches wide. 8 times 3 is 24, plus an inch sewing is 25. So keep that in mind. Now what I'm going to do is I've already cut my square, and I'm making it 10 inch wide. So to finish at, with my fullness, it's 31 inches. I'm cut this 19, so it'll finish at 18. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half, like that. And your angle, it doesn't matter so much. Your angle here is going to be whatever you like or whatever you feel proportionate. I can't really tell you that because if you had an 8-inch wide, the angle may be a little different than from a 12-inch wide. So the first thing I'm going to do is I don't like to come right to the point. This is going to be my bottom. And I don't like coming to a point. I like to leave about a ½ inch. So when I open it, it's about 1 inch. And that gives me an extra sewing allowance on there. And you're just going to pick an angle that you like. Now that's way too steep, but I would say something like this works pretty good, about 4 or 5 inches in. Just going to draw your angle, and you're going to cut it. I'm also going to put, now this is just for your pattern, you're not going to do this on your actual material, but I'm going to put a little notch, and that tells me my center point. So when I open it up, that's going to look like, now you can see I've got a little squareness right here, and what that helps is when you're sewing, you're using a ½ inch sewing, it's going to come here, and then you're going to turn the corner, come around, and that's going to come to a point when you're done. But if you start with a point and then you're sewing to a point, you're just losing extra material, and it's going to come out that much smaller. That's why I like to have like a 1 inch flatness here. That's just for sewing. That's my personal preference. Okay, so now I've got a center line drawn, and I am going to draw my center. Now I like to use 4 pleats, 4 equal pleats on each side of this. That's why I've got a separate, because you're going to mark them differently. So we talked about it's going to be 30 inches wide, so plus your sewing is 31. So from this line over it's 15.5, and from this line over here it's 15.5. Now I'm using 4 pleats, so I'm going to work on one side. It's a 15.5, and I'm going to forget the ½ inch for now with my calculation. So we're only going to talk about 15. 15 inches divided by 4. That's 3 3/4 inches. Now you're going to go ahead and put a little mark at 3 3/4, 3 3/4, 3 3/4, and of course this is going to be 4 1/4 because it has your ½ inch sewing allowance. We're going to do the same thing over here. Go 3 3/4, 3 3/4, 3 3/4. Now I'm going to put pleating notches, which are little V's. This is just something that I like to do. Especially when it comes to your fabric, you don't want to be really marking your fabric. So this is just a better way, and that's going to help you with the folds. And let me get some pins here. Okay, there we go. Now, we're going to start with this one. We're always starting to the center line. We're going to grab the material and we're going to bring it over. Just like that. That's my first. Excuse me. I'm already screwed up. Sorry about that. What you do is grab about the middle of that V. And we're going to bring it, I'll show you in a second. So I grab the middle of the V and I'll show you that's what it looks like right there. That's the fabric I've grabbed. And this piece of fold goes right to that notch. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to grab right in between. See these two V's right here? I'm going to grab right in between these V's. I'm going to bring this material over. And the one thing I want you to remember is that you're not going to overlap. Like these don't overlap each other in here. These are just going to come right down. Now I'm going to grab my next one right in the center of this. I'm going to bring it over. And what you're doing is you're bringing the underneath part of it over until you see it in that little notch. Show you in a second. Let me get this all the way. Now this next one, the same thing, about halfway. And you're going to bring it over. And I'm leaving my 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance just because it's been added in there. If this was sewn, it wouldn't be doing that right now, but okay, so that's my first half of it. And that's what it looks like. That's what the back side of it looks like. So each one of these are right next to them, so they're not actually overlapping. Now we're going to go ahead and do the next side. Try to do it a little bit better so you can see. Okay, here it is. I'm grabbing about the halfway in between these two V's. I'm bringing it over. Again, halfway in between those V's, bringing over. And again. Now if you don't like these little small pleats like this, you can go to doing 3 pleats instead, and these folds get a lot larger. I like the 4, but if it was a thick fabric, actually I probably wouldn't be doing this. I probably would be doing a 3 pleat. And there you have it. You measure it, should come out about 11 inches. That's exactly what comes out of 11 inches. Come out 10 inches after it's finished off. And that goes right in between. It's just fills in that gap a little bit right there. So it'll be like that. And there you have it. Good luck. Have any questions? You find my website, Factory Direct Window Treatments, and then go under contacts and you'll find my email. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.